Welcome to this deep dive all about John Green's The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh, I love that book.
Me too. Today we are going to explore the characters,
Okay.
their relationships,
Yeah.
and really how this novel kind of uniquely explores life, death, and everything in between.
I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
And, I think there's going to be some surprises along the way for you listening, especially like all the humor that's woven throughout this story.
Yeah, there is. What I think is so fascinating about The Fault in Our Stars is that it really doesn't shy away from, difficult topics like cancer and death and suffering.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't wallow in them.
Right.
There's this incredible balance, I think, between the darkness and the light,
Yeah.
You get profound insights and then, bam,
Yeah.
a moment of genuine humor.
Right. And it makes you feel like you are really right there with the characters, like you're experiencing everything with them. At the very beginning, Hazel calls herself univalent Hazel.
Oh, right.
In contrast to Augustus, who has, two names.
Yeah, Augustus Waters.
Augustus Waters.
Yeah.
It always struck me as like such a powerful introduction to her character.
It is.
Yeah. It's like she's already defined herself by her illness.
Yeah.
She's reduced to just one dimension.
Right.
What do you think John Green was doing there? Like why did he choose to start the story this way?
Well, I think you're definitely onto something there. Starting with that comparison between Hazel and Augustus.
Yeah.
Immediately highlights, Hazel's mindset.
Yeah.
Going into this story, her belief that cancer, has stripped her of her identity, her potential.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because even she,
Yeah.
calls herself just Hazel, the sick girl.
Right.
Or even, I think at one point she even calls herself a side effect, which.
Yeah, I love that line. It's dark humor.
It is.
But also kind of heartbreaking too.
Oh, yeah.
Because you realize that it reflects a deeper fear.
Right.
Right, like a fear of being insignificant, of not mattering.
Exactly. I think it speaks to that, universal human need to find meaning, to find purpose.
Yeah.
Especially when I think as humans, we are all faced with our mortality.
Yeah.
Whether we're battling a terminal illness or not, we all kind of grapple with that. And so this need for meaning, it's something that I think drives both Hazel and Augustus throughout the whole story,
Yeah.
And I think we see this like very explicitly in Hazel's obsession with an imperial affliction.
Yeah.
Right? This book, her desperate search for answers.
Right.
For closure.
It's not just looking for a good story, right? She needs someone to make sense of all the chaos, the unfairness of it all. It's like she needs someone to tell her that her suffering, that everyone's suffering means something.
Right. And it goes even deeper than that, I think, because, she's also terrified of what happens after, after death.
Yeah.
Like what happens to her consciousness? Does it just blink out?
Right.
And so she wants that reassurance.
Yeah.
That her life and her death, it won't just fade away unnoticed.
Right, right. And, speaking of being noticed or not, it kind of brings us to Augustus.
Yeah, right.
And his, very different...
total opposite end of the spectrum.
Totally. Yeah. Approach to, I think, mortality and meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, now Augustus, he's a whole other deep dive, right? He enters the story with this undeniable charm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But he can also be a little over the top, like with that whole cigarette metaphor thing. Wow. I'll admit, at first I was like, "Come on, dude, are you trying too hard here?"
Yeah. A lot of readers have that initial reaction to Augustus.
Yeah.
He can come across as this confident, almost theatrical character,
Yeah.
eager to just make these grand pronouncements about, life and death and suffering. But
but as the story unfolds.
Right. Exactly. You see the cracks in the facade.
Yeah.
Like he is so much more complex than he appears to be, like at first glance.
Yeah. And there's this one moment that really struck me.
Okay, what's that?
Where he talks about playing basketball in heaven.
Oh, right.
And that really revealed something about his anxieties to me, don't you think?
It does, yeah. Because it reveals this, fear.
Yeah.
This fear of being forgotten, of not leaving a mark on the world. And I think that's a very human fear.
Yeah.
Especially, I think, for someone facing, a terminal illness,
Right.
like he's not going to have, maybe the decades that some people have
Right.
to, really establish a legacy.
Yeah.
So it's like he's equating this lasting legacy with proof that his life had meaning.
Right. And I think it's really interesting how his relationship with Caroline Mathers,
Oh, yeah.
sheds even more light on this fear.
It does. Because, the thing about Augustus is that he doesn't, romanticize Caroline's death.
Right.
At all.
He calls it as he sees it.
He does. He acknowledges her flaws, her humanity, He loved her, but he also recognizes, that death doesn't automatically make someone a saint.
I find that to be such a very honest and nuanced perspective.
It is.
Especially in a story about, young people facing their own mortality. Where it's been so easy to fall into that,
The inspirational cancer victim.
Yeah. Trope.
But John Green completely avoids that.
He does. And I think it's refreshing, honestly.
It is.
To present Caroline as this complex individual, Yeah. I think by doing so, Augustus really challenges this idea that death somehow erases a person's flaws, or elevates them to some higher moral plane. He's acknowledging that life and death, are messy.
Yeah.
They're complicated. Yeah. And that's okay.
It seems like both Hazel and Augustus, despite their different personalities, are kind of grappling with these same questions, about mortality, about meaning.
Yeah.
I wonder how that shared experience is going to shape their relationship.
That's great.
As the story unfolds.
Question to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. As we move forward.
Yeah.
Because their journey together, especially, I'd say, their trip to Amsterdam.
Oh, Amsterdam.
It really becomes this,
Okay, their trip to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be this, amazing, wish-fulfilling experience.
Right.
But it becomes so much more than that, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, it becomes almost a microcosm of their entire relationship.
Yeah.
You get these moments of joy and wonder. That scene with the champagne and the canal boat ride.
Yeah.
But there's always this underlying tension there.
Yeah.
This awareness of their limited time together.
And the Anne Frank house scene.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like I was right there with them.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Climbing those narrow stairs and feeling the weight of history and the fragility of life all at once.
Right. And I think it's one of the most powerful scenes in the novel.
Yeah.
Because it's where, their individual journeys really converge with this larger historical narrative. I think Anne Frank's story really becomes a touchstone for Hazel and Augustus.
It does.
The reminder of the fleeting nature of life.
Yeah.
And the importance of making the most of every moment.
It's interesting because then he says that line, remember, about Amsterdam being the city of freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Where most people find sin.
Right.
That always struck me as such a loaded statement. What do you make of it?
Oh, it's so fascinating, isn't it? Because on the one hand, it is kind of this teenagers edgy observation about, Amsterdam's reputation.
Yeah.
But on a deeper level, I think it really speaks to the idea that true freedom comes with the responsibility to make choices.
Yeah.
And those choices aren't always easy. They're not always comfortable.
No. It's like he's acknowledging that freedom can be both exhilarating and terrifying. Especially when you're facing your own mortality.
Right.
Suddenly every decision feels more significant. Every experience more intense.
Right. Exactly.
And it's for Hazel and Augustus, this heightened awareness of life and death informs everything that they do.
It does.
From their grand romantic gestures to their quiet, moments of intimacy.
Exactly.
And speaking of grand romantic gestures, there's that awkward, almost kiss in the restaurant. It's so relatable. It so perfectly captures that teenage fumbling.
Oh, yeah.
For connection.
Yeah. And I love that John Green includes these moments of awkwardness and humor alongside the more profound, and romantic scenes.
Yeah.
Because it reminds us that,
Yeah.
Hazel and Augustus are,
Yeah.
at their core,
Yeah.
just teenagers.
They are. Yeah.
Navigating the complexities of first love.
And that's what makes their relationship so compelling, I think. It's not some, idealized fairy tale romance.
No.
It's messy.
It's real.
It's real. And I think it's all the more beautiful for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too.
But then, of course, there's the emotional gut punch.
Oh, yeah.
Of Augustus's relapse. It's like the other shoe finally drops.
It does.
And
the reality of their situation comes crashing down.
And it's that brutal reminder, that even the most intense love stories, can't conquer everything.
Right.
Cancer doesn't care about your feelings.
Or your plans.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
That's so true. And I admire how John Green doesn't shy away.
He doesn't?
From the harsh realities of the disease.
He doesn't.
He shows us the physical pain, the emotional exhaustion, the fear.
It's all there.
The uncertainty, all of that.
Yeah.
That comes with a cancer diagnosis.
But at the same time, he also shows us, the resilience of the human spirit.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to find joy and connection, even in those darkest of times. Think about Augustus.
Yeah.
Even as he's facing his own mortality.
Yeah.
He's still so focused on Hazel's happiness.
Yeah.
He wants to protect her.
Yeah.
He wants to shield her from pain, even if it means, sacrificing his own desires.
And, that makes me think about that part where he tries to be a hero.
Oh, yeah.
By taking Hazel to the gas station when she's having that breathing episode. Yeah.
But he's too weak.
Right.
He's too weak to actually help her.
Yeah.
It's both heartbreaking and frustrating at the same time.
It is, because it highlights the limitations of even the most well-intentioned heroism.
Right. I think that's a theme that runs throughout the book. Is this idea that true strength isn't always about grand gestures or fighting against all odds. Sometimes it's just about accepting your limitations.
Right. Like allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And leaning on others for support.
Yeah. And that's a valuable lesson for anyone, I think, not just teenagers facing a terminal illness.
Right.
It's a reminder that we don't have to go through life alone.
We don't.
That there's
it's strength in asking for help, allowing others to care for us.
Right.
And then there's this whole pre-funeral idea, Augustus's cancer perks, his obsession with leaving a mark. It all comes to a head in that scene. Right?
Yeah, it does. It's like he's trying to control the narrative. Of his own death.
Right.
To make sure, that he's remembered on his own terms.
Yeah.
And I think he's very consciously, rejecting this idea of this passive, sanitized death,
Yeah.
Instead, he wants to make a statement.
Yeah.
He wants to leave a lasting impression.
Right.
And he even critiques, remember that whole sentiment, the playing basketball in heaven?
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't want some easy, idealized afterlife.
Right.
He wants something more. He wants something real.
And it's about Hazel, too, isn't it? Like, he wants to make sure that she's okay.
Yeah.
That she has people to support her after he's gone.
Right. I think that's a key part of it, Like, his love for Hazel is woven into everything he does. Even his seemingly self-centered desire for this grand legacy. Yeah. He wants to leave her with something. Yeah. With a story. Yeah. A memory. Yeah. A piece of himself that will endure.
Yeah. And then she finds those pages from his notebook.
Oh, right.
Addressed to Van Houten.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, he's trying to get her the sequel to Imperial Affliction as this, ultimate gesture of love. Yeah. But then we realize the letter's true purpose. And it's, wow. It's
devastating.
Wow.
It is. And I think John Green, masterfully plays with our expectations there. Yeah. He sets us up for one kind of revelation. and then deliver something completely different. Something even more powerful and profound.
And that brings us to Augustus's letter, which, you know, I think is the heart and soul of this whole novel.
I think so too.
I mean, we're about to enter some deep waters here.
We are.
And I'm curious to hear your perspective on what Augustus's letter reveals about his character, his relationship with Hazel, and ultimately the kind of mark he leaves on the world. It's like this hidden treasure tucked away inside the story.
Right.
And it completely changes our understanding of him, don't you think?
Oh, I agree. The letter, you know, it really peels back the layers of his persona. And reveals this depth of vulnerability and self-awareness that we haven't seen before. I mean, it's raw. It's honest. And it's heartbreaking.
He even admits to being a shitty writer, which, you know, I kind of find endearing.
I know. It is. But the thing is...
But you know what? His writing in that letter is anything but.
Right.
It's powerful. It's poetic. And it cuts right to the core of what it means to be human, you know, to love and lose and to find meaning in a world that often feels meaningless.
It's true. It's like in those final moments of writing. He achieves this level of authenticity.
That maybe he struggled with in life. You know? He's no longer trying to be profound or witty. He's just pouring his heart out.
He's just bearing his soul.
Expressing his deepest fears and regrets and his love for Hazel. And he does it in such a unique voice. I mean, it's so distinct from the Augustus we've, you know, come to know through Hazel's narration. It's like we're finally getting a glimpse into his true self.
Unfiltered and unburdened.
Unfiltered,
by the need to perform.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the letter is so impactful. It's unexpected.
It is.
It subverts our expectations of who he is and what he's capable of. And by doing so, I think it challenges us to reconsider our own assumptions about the people in our lives.
Because we all construct these narratives, don't we?
You do.
About the people around us. And, you know, we see what we want to see. A lot of times.
Do you have like a favorite passage from the letter?
Oh,
there's so many.
Is there one that like really resonated with you?
The one that always stays with me is that line, "Grief does not change you, Hazel. It reveals you."
Oh, yeah.
You know? And it's such a profound
It's so powerful
statement about the transformative power of loss. You know? And I think it suggests that grief doesn't fundamentally alter who we are, but rather it strips away the superficial layers, revealing our core essence.
And I think that applies not only to grief, but to any experience that forces us to,
you know, confront our own mortality. Or the fragility of life.
You know, because it's
in those moments that we truly discover who we are, I think, what we're made of.
And I think for Hazel, you know, what's revealed is incredible strength, resilience, and a deep capacity for love. You know, it's a reminder that even in the face of immense suffering, the human spirit can endure and even find a way to flourish.
It's inspiring, I think, really, and it makes this book, I think,
it does.
so much more than just a tragic love story. It's a story about hope. About finding meaning and purpose, even in the face of death.
And it's a reminder that, you know, love can be a really powerful force for healing and growth, even when it's, you know, accompanied by loss. You know, Augustus's love for Hazel and vice versa. That's what sustains them throughout the story. It's what gives them that strength to face their challenges and to find those moments of joy even in the darkest of times.
So earlier, you know, we talked about how Augustus was so fixated on leaving a mark on the world.
Right.
Do you think he achieved that?
It's an interesting question,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he may not have,
Yeah.
achieved the kind of grand,
Yeah.
world-changing
Yeah.
legacy
Yeah.
that he initially envisioned.
Right. Right.
But I think
Yeah.
he did leave a mark, a profound one.
Yeah. It might not be, visible to the whole world,
Yeah,
but it's deeply etched,
it is.
into the lives of those who loved him,
Yeah,
especially Hazel.
exactly.
And through her, his story continues to touch the hearts
Yeah,
of readers
yeah.
everywhere.
He achieved something much more meaningful
Yeah.
and lasting than fame or recognition.
Yeah, I think so too.
He made a real difference
Yeah.
in the lives of
Yeah.
those he touched.
Mhm.
And his story continues to inspire
Yeah.
and resonate
Yeah.
with people long after his death.
And I think that's what makes his letter so
Ugh.
powerful. It's a testament, to the
Yeah.
enduring power of love, of
Yeah.
connection, of,
Yeah.
of the stories that we
Mhm.
share with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder that even in the face of death,
Yeah,
something beautiful
Yeah.
and meaningful can emerge.
it really is.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that's the ultimate takeaway from The Fault in Our Stars.
Huh.
It's not a story
Yeah.
about dying.
Right.
It's a story about living,
Yeah.
about cherishing
Yeah.
the moments that we have, about loving fiercely and authentically,
Yeah.
and about finding meaning and purpose even in
Yeah.
the most challenging of circumstances.
So well said. And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us
Oh, thank you.
on this deep dive into The Fault in Our Stars. We've explored the characters, their relationships, and I think the really profound themes that are woven throughout this incredibly
Yeah.
moving and thought-provoking
Yeah.
story.
Well, it's been my absolute pleasure
Yeah.
discussing this with you, and to you, the listener. We hope
Yeah.
this deep dive has sparked some new insights.
Mm.
Maybe even, inspired you to
Yeah.
revisit the book with fresh eyes.
And maybe even ask yourself what kind of mark you want to leave on the world. Food for thought.
Food for thought.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Yeah, and I think for Hazel, what's revealed is incredible strength,
Yeah.
resilience,
Mm.
and a deep capacity for love.
It's a reminder that even in the face of immense suffering,
Yeah.
the human spirit can endure and even find a way to flourish.
It's inspiring, really.
It is.
And it makes this book so much more than just a
Yeah.
tragic love story.
Right.
It's a story about hope,
Yeah.
about finding meaning and purpose even in the face of death.
And it's a reminder that love can be a powerful force
Oh, yeah.
for healing and growth, even when it's accompanied by loss.
Yeah.
Augustus's love for Hazel and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's what sustains them throughout the story. It's
Mhm.
what gives them the strength to face their challenges and to find moments of joy,
Yeah.
even in the darkest of times.
Absolutely.
So, earlier we talked about how Augustus was so fixated on leaving a mark on the world.
Right.
Do you think he achieved that?
That's a good question.
Did he leave a legacy?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Because he may not have achieved
Yeah.
the kind of grand, world-changing legacy
Right.
that he initially envisioned.
Right.
But I think he did leave a mark,
Yeah.
a profound one.
It might not be visible to the whole world,
Right.
but it's deeply etched into the lives of those who loved him,
It is.
especially Hazel.
Yeah.
And through her, his story continues to touch the hearts of readers everywhere.
Exactly.
Hmm.
He achieved something much more meaningful and lasting
Yeah,
than fame or recognition.
I think so too.
He made a real difference in the lives of those he touched,
Yeah.
and his story continues to inspire and resonate with people long after his death.
And I think that's what makes his letter so powerful. It's
Yeah.
it's a testament to the enduring power of love, of
Mm.
connection, of the stories that we share with each other.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even in the face of death,
Yeah.
something beautiful and meaningful can emerge.
It really is. And for me, that's the ultimate takeaway from The Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah.
It's not a story about dying.
Right.
It's a story about living,
Yeah.
about cherishing the moments that we
Mhm.
have,
Yeah.
about loving fiercely and authentically,
Yeah.
and about finding meaning and purpose even in the most challenging of circumstances.
So well said. And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into The Fault in Our Stars. We've explored the characters,
Yeah.
their relationships, and the really profound themes that are woven throughout this incredibly moving and thought-provoking story.
Absolutely. It's been my absolute pleasure discussing this with you and to you, the listener.
Yeah.
We hope this deep dive has sparked some new insights and maybe even inspired you to revisit the book with fresh eyes.
And maybe even ask yourself, what kind of mark do you want to leave on the world? Food for thought.
Food for thought.
Until next time, keep diving deep.